Hello friends, this video on Control and Coordination Part 6 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. We can very easily study the endocrine system because we now know what are endocrine glands. So now it is the time to talk about hormones because hormones are the chemical substances which are secreted by the endocrine glands. So let us see what are hormones. These are the chemicals secreted by the endocrine glands, which I already mentioned. These are carried by blood because endocrine glands, they will secrete it directly into the blood. So blood will actually carry the hormones. They are the chemical messengers. Now, why chemical? That we know because these are chemical substances. Now, why are they called messengers? Messengers means somebody who carries information from one place to another. Right? For example, a peon who brings us letter, he is considered to be a messenger because he brings us information. So how are hormones messengers? Because they carry signal or information from one cell to another. That is, they move from one area of the body to another area. So they start moving from the area of production. That means the area where they got produced by the endocrine gland. And they move into another area of action. Area of action means the area where the target cells are located. Now these hormones have got a very specific behavior, that is, they always hit a specific target organ. It is not that the hormones will go and hit each and every cell of the body. They will hit some specific cells of the body which are needed to be hit. Right? So these hormones are therefore called chemical messengers because they carry information from one cell to another. So they move from their area of production to the area of action and they are carried by blood. They act on specific target organs. So they are very specific in their action, as I said. So they will hit only the specific target cells. Now, how do we know that who are the target cells? Now, the target cells will have a cell membrane and these hormones will be recognized by the associated cell membranes, by the target tissues or the receptors. So the target cell will have some receptors on their membrane. They will have some special molecules who will actually detect the presence of the hormone. Now as soon as they detect the presence of the hormone, they will recognize that information. They will receive that information which is carried by the hormone. Let us look at this example. Let us suppose just now I was talking about the postman, right? So the postman brings us letters. Now let us suppose the postman got some 100 letters from the post office. So now it is not that he will go and distribute those 100 letters to any of the 100 houses. It is not like that. He has to act on specific houses. How does he know which are those specific houses? With the help of the address which is mentioned on the envelope of each letter. So he will go to that specific address and deliver that letter to that particular house. Similarly, he'll go to another house and deliver that letter to that particular house. Now, how that person who is there in the house, if let us suppose the post office took some other letter and gave it to a particular house. So when the person receives the letter, he will check if the address is his own or not. If it is somebody else's address, he will return the letter to the postman saying that this is not my address. Right? So that is how it happens here. So blood is carrying the hormones. Now there are specific target organs on which the hormone has to act. Now those organs will have some molecules on their bodies called receptors. So those receptors will be able to recognize the hormone. So when they recognize the hormone, what will they do? They will receive the information which is carried by the hormones. Right? So that is how the entire scenario acts. So it is somewhat like this. Let us suppose if this is blood. This is the flow of blood. These are the different cells on the body. Let us suppose this is a hormone secreting cell. So this is a hormone secreting cell. That means this will produce hormone. So let us suppose it produces some hormones. Let us suppose these are the hormones which are produced by this hormone secreting cell. So the hormones are produced directly into the blood. So now this is the blood. So the hormone also starts moving with the blood. Now let us suppose this is another cell and this is a target cell. Let us suppose this is the target cell. So if this is the target cell, it will have some receptor molecules on its surface. Now as soon as these hormones reach this way, the receptor molecules will be able to recognize the hormone. So it will receive the information from the hormone. Similarly, when some of the hormones keep on moving in the blood this way, again if this is a target cell which has receptor molecules, it will receive the hormone in this way. So this is how the information is transmitted from one cell to another. Now let us suppose once the information reaches this cell, the information also reached this cell. Now where will this blood flow? Now when we look at the circulatory system of the body, we have talked about the circulatory system in our previous lesson, right? So circulatory system, what does it say? It says that blood flows throughout our body. So now you can imagine that if some endocrine gland secreted some hormones, so that hormone is being carried by the blood, and blood is flowing throughout the body. So that means throughout the body, wherever there are target cells, they will be able to receive that information. So this is how the information is carried over to different parts of the body. So the transport of hormones will happen in this fashion. So this was a very simple logic which I tried to explain. I mean, just to show you that how hormones flow in the blood and they are recognized by the target cells. Now once the hormone acts on the specific target organs, they get destroyed. So they get destroyed after their job is done. That means a hormone will not remain active or it will not remain alive throughout. So each and every hormone will have a specific lifespan which is called as half-life. Now there are some hormones which have got very short half-life. That means as soon as they are produced, they will do their job and then get destroyed. Whereas there are some other hormones which have quite long half-life. That means they will get produced and they will gradually do their job in over a long period of time, and only after that they will get destroyed, right? So what all information did we gather about hormones? Hormones are chemical substances. They carry information from one part of the body to another. They are secreted by endocrine glands. They are carried by blood. They act only on specific target organs. They get destroyed after their job is done. They should be present in desired quantities, neither more nor less. Now the hormones which are secreted by the glands, if too much of hormone is present, that is also harmful to the body. If very less hormone is present, that is again harmful to the body. Let us take an example. Now, let us take the example of an endocrine gland of pancreas. All of you know what is pancreas? When we were talking about the digestive system, I spoke about pancreas. It is located just below the stomach. So from pancreas, we had that pancreatic duct which actually carried the enzymes which are needed for digestion of food. You remember what is pancreas by now? Okay, so if you don't remember what it is, you get back to your previous lesson and study the digestive system again. So pancreas is again a gland, and the endocrine part of pancreas, there is a portion of the pancreas which secretes hormones and secrete them into the blood. So it secretes a specific hormone called as insulin. Now what is the purpose of that hormone insulin? It maintains the glucose level in blood. Now blood has so many different molecules, right? So blood also contains glucose. What is glucose? Glucose is the simplest form of sugar, you can say, right? Because glucose is a kind of fuel to all the cells, because all the cells present in our body, they need some fuel, they need some food. So they recognize food only in the form of glucose, because glucose is the simplest form. Now the purpose of this hormone insulin is to maintain the glucose level in blood. It does not allow the level of glucose to increase in blood. So it always tries to keep the glucose level low, right? So we are taking one example here. So to understand this, we are taking the example of insulin. So insulin is a hormone which is secreted by the endocrine gland of pancreas. So what is its purpose? It keeps glucose level low. So it reduces the glucose level in blood. Now just imagine a situation where if this hormone insulin is present in a very high quantity, what will happen? If too much of insulin is present, all of that insulin will try to make the glucose level low. So the glucose level in the blood will reduce too much. Now if glucose level decreases to that extent, what will happen? Cells need glucose, right? Because cells also need food. Because inside the cells also cellular oxidation is happening, cellular respiration is happening. So for that they need glucose. So if there is lack of glucose in the blood, that will be a problem for the cells. Now if the cells are in problem, you know what will happen to our body, because after all the body is made up of cells. Now similarly, if the amount of insulin in the body is very less, if it becomes very less, then what will happen? Then the amount of insulin present will become insufficient to control the glucose level, because very small amount of insulin is present, so it cannot reduce the glucose level in blood. So the glucose level in blood will increase, and then what will happen? You would have heard people suffering from diabetes. So when does a person suffer from diabetes? When the glucose level in his blood increases. What happens when the glucose level in blood increases? Generally, the glucose level increases so much that it flows even through urine. So even your urine will have a lot of glucose that time. So such people will tend to gain a lot of weight. Whenever they will get hurt, their injuries will not get healed quickly. So the healing time will increase a lot, and there will be many other complications which will arise out of this disease called diabetes, right? So why all these things will happen? These things will happen only if the amount of insulin is either too much or it is too less. So that is why it is said that every hormone should be present only in desired quantities, neither very high nor very low. So these are some of the important properties of hormones, right? So now you understood what are endocrine glands and what are hormones. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.